Hello, Internet. How's it going? I don't know if this is actually working, so I hope you can hear us. We're on a 30-second delay, so we'll have to wait 30 seconds for your comments to come in to see how it's going, but welcome. My name is Father Casey Cole. We're happy that you're here, happy to joining us. I'm joined with three of my illustrious brothers, and I want to invite them to introduce themselves first, so we could go with Juan. Tell us who you are and your favorite thing about me.
Hello, how you doing? I'm Juan Turcios, and my favorite thing about Casey is his
He's actually answering it.
his bean hamburgers.
All right.
Tito.
All right. Well, my name is Roberto Serrano Salgado. You killed my father. My favorite thing about Brother Casey is his gentleman's haircut. It's classic yet stylish.
Yes, and it's going to go another 4 to 6 weeks before I get it cut. So you just wait to see what it looks like. All right, Maxwell.
And I'm Brother Maxwell. We're actually all in the same place with Tito and Juan, and I would have to think about my favorite thing about Casey. Because I have so many great memories.
So many.
That's right.
Yeah, so the funny thing right now is the three of you are actually in the same house, right? You're all in Chicago, a place I used to live, except you're in different rooms. So how's life in Chicago right now?
Well, there's a whole lot of social distancing that's been happening, but I think it's, at least for our house, it's been pretty chill. At least my experience has. We come together, for morning prayer, evening prayer, and we do have dinner together. But for the rest of the day, I think the majority of us are just kind of, keeping busy, trying to stay healthy, doing good things.
And actually, it snowed this morning. I opened my window and it was beautiful. Yes, actually, yes, it did. It's beautiful to appreciate the weather when you don't have to go outside.
Yeah, it's been between 75 and 80 every day here in Georgia. The pollen has taken over. I'm about to die from that, if nothing else. It's been absolutely gorgeous, and I'm very horrified that you just said snow.
It's not been the weather. See, the weather, I guess, is good for this whole stay-at-home stuff because it hasn't been so nice, so it's not tempting to go out. When it was 70 here 2 weeks ago, it was really tempting.
Yeah, I heard they had to shut down the Lakeshore Drive and people couldn't go on the boardwalk or whatever.
Oh, it's still like that. We're
still closed down.
Yeah, unfortunate, but for good reason.
Yeah, so you guys are in school right now. Suckers. How is that like?
Well, I'm not yet. I start Monday, but actually, it's I don't know how others feel about this, but because of what we're doing, with social distancing and studying online, 2 out of 3 of my courses are actually going to be asynchronous. So all the stuff is just going to be uploaded and I will do it at my pace. And I'm going to work at doing it as quickly as possible. Doing it well, but quickly.
That's the Tito way.
That's right.
I have the fun. I'm doing the dual master's program. So I'm going to CTU Catholic Theological Union, and we just finished a semester. And I also
like this semester.
semester. And then I also go to the University of Chicago, and we just started our quarter 2 weeks ago.
Ooh, someone's a smarty pants, goes to 2 different schools at one time.
Just made a mistake. That's what But it has been absolute chaos trying to manage that, plus do field work, working with clients. And so I'm very grateful for the brothers keeping me sane.
Even Tito?
I think you're breaking up there, Casey. I didn't hear
Expect nothing less.
Well, I saw an early question. Someone wanted to know how the mayor of CTU was going.
Who is that?
What does that even mean?
Who is that?
So our brother Juan here
Yeah, you have to answer
the personable character. He has never met someone he does not like to talk with and cannot charm. Just absolutely charm them out of anything they want. And he stepped foot on campus and immediately became the mayor of the place. even before he started taking classes.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're being coy right now. Humble.
There have been plenty of usurpers who have come through, but none have really succeeded.
They never last.
Yeah.
A few coup attempts, but never any sustained leadership.
Yeah, no one's been able to successfully overthrow the mayor, the true mayor of CTU.
Mhm.
That's true. I'm doing well.
Good. Glad we finally got to that.
Yeah.
Well, before I go any farther, what are we drinking here? Because I've got a Guinness. So cheers to all those at home. Friday night. It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Cheers.
I've got myself a coffee, which is just a little bit Irish.
It's the way we like it.
I just get some tea.
Some tea. Some special tea.
Specialty.
Celebratory tea.
Yeah, so things have been quite wild here. As you know, we are withdrawing from the University of Georgia at the end of the year. And we had all these things planned. So we were going to have a carnival this week, and we were going to have an end of the year concert and all these things for the students. And now it's not happening. We just had Easter Vigil, which was the strangest experience of my entire life, where I celebrated the Easter Vigil as a first-year priest. And it was both incredibly boring and the most exciting thing I've ever done. It was incredibly inspiring and incredibly saddening. So you can only imagine the Gloria. We turn on the lights, the music goes powerfully, it was recorded, but it's still these drums and the trumpets and everything, glory. And I looked around and I was singing to no one.
Yeah.
And it was just like a dagger right through my heart. I got to the second verse and I started choking up, like I couldn't sing it anymore. But there's something really powerful about hearing from people the next day saying they were there and they were singing at home. I'm curious what your experience has been like, because you guys aren't at parishes, you're in a fraternity, which is wonderful, and you have a priest that can celebrate, but what's it like being kind of locked together without a parish?
Would anyone like to take this one?
Well, we shared today, and actually one of that thing was like the beautiful part of this was that we're able to spend more time with each other, especially the liturgical part. Usually in the past, what we have been doing is like everyone go to do ministry wherever they are doing the ministry. But in this particular celebration of the Triduum, we were like celebrating together. It was painful to realize that a lot of people, I mean, we know that they were not able to have the beautiful time to celebrate the Eucharist and all that, but in the same time, we're beautiful to be with each other.
Yeah, I mean, we had a house chapter, so we came together. Today was our spiritual chapter as a fraternity, and one of the things we talked about was how our prayer life, spirituality, and everything has been going during this time, the difficulties, the good, bad, all that. And one of the things that came up as one brought up was the Triduum. And for me, although I miss being in a big parish, I love, shout out to my undergrad, go Loyola, go Blurs, go Sister Jean. I love going to Loyola's campus for like the Triduum. I just think they do have gorgeous liturgies. So it's really missing that atmosphere, being with the people of God in such a joyous, big environment. But on the flip side, it was also very intimate in our chapel, and it was absolutely wonderful to be with our fraternity, to pray together in a very intimate setting. So it was different, but at the same time, as said, Casey, there's a beauty to it. But I also
Did you get baptized in your house?
Yes, I volunteered as.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to add. If we had not been in this situation, I would have been in a parish in Humboldt Park, in a Hispanic parish, which I know would have been beautiful, would have been eclectic, and it would have been a Spanish liturgy, which I don't typically get to do for Easter, that would have been really exciting. But there was something just beautiful about our celebration together in its simplicity, and it was my first time being deacon at Easter, at the Easter Mass, and I got to.
Did you sing the Exultet?
Did not.
Lame. Cop out.
Look, Lent was over. Their penance was done. So But I get to preach, and that was exciting. And I kept my homily pretty simple and short because, I mean, I had a captive audience. I could have kept them there as long as I wanted.
You would walk out.
But
Easter Vigil or not, the brothers would have protested and just walked away.
I kept it simple but poignant. So it was nice.
Yeah, and then the real show the next day. What did our good brother John bake you all? Because that's what's really important.
Anybody?
I'll let you take it. Right, keep it going.
So our brother John, who's the guardian of their house, is an incredible baker, incredible chef. No one else is allowed to contribute on Easter or Thanksgiving, and no one else wants to because he does everything perfectly. So I'm just dying to know what he did this year.
So we had, we had lamb and ham, two
Ham.
protein sources, if you will. The lamb was absolutely delicious. And he also had, the glazed carrots. Those are really good. It was a simple recipe, but absolutely delicious. Some potatoes, which were roasted very nicely, like not overdone. They had a nice little snap to it when you bit into it. It was really nice.
Mm-hmm. Now get to the good stuff.
I think the most important thing.
Yeah.
For me, the lamb was the most important. Although, what was my first time having hummingbird cake.
With real hummingbird?
With real hummingbird in it. At first, I was a little nervous, but no.
You're petrified?
Yeah, but honestly, I don't know what goes into the hummingbird cake. There are pecans in there? Something. There's some kind of a nut in there.
I can see it. It's good.
Don't ruin the illusion. I just assume it's hummingbird and it's delicious.
But it comes with a delicious cream cheese frosting also, which is just my favorite.
And butterflies?
And yes, edible butterflies on the outside. So yeah, it was a really nice and special dessert.
And we're gonna have a second cake with it, but we decided that would have been too dense. So we had today the chocolate cake because it's still celebrating Easter. So we figured carry on the celebration. So we have the chocolate cake with today. I don't know.
Yikes. Who's making lots of noise?
I don't know. Someone's getting text
I'm
messages.
gonna turn that off. Sorry.
It's just Easter bells.
I'm just so popular.
No, I loved the last year I was there, I guess. No, it was 2 years ago. We had the hummingbird cake. And then after Easter, it's always fun to invite the guys from the other house over who are just about a mile away, the guys in formation. And they came and they wanted to eat the hummingbird cake. And I think we tried to hide some of it and they still found it. And then I think, Tito, you were one of those people that had a big slice.
No.
One thinks so. Thinks so.
I'm always blamed for this. This is ridiculous.
Well, you're an easy target. We suspect you want the sweets.
This was my first time ever having a hummingbird cake. I happened to visit last year, just a couple days after Easter, and the hummingbird cake was already gone.
That's because you came the night before and ate it all, and you don't remember because you went.
Right. I snuck over via airplane from Greenville, South Carolina, finished the hummingbird cake, went back, and then flew back again.
Crazier things have happened.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you finally admit to it.
But yeah.
What did you guys do? Because isn't Father Frank a wonderful cook?
He is an incredible cook. So we'd have pasta, and he made this meatball mixed with pork, mixed with, I think there might have been lamb in it, I don't know, ribs, something. It was this meat medley mixed in. And it wasn't homemade pasta, but it was kind of homemade pasta, almost fresh. He made a caprese salad. We had ice cream. Oh gosh, we've been eating it nonstop, the leftovers, until today. I think we just kind of finished it because my guardian is also an incredible cook, but unlike your guardian, he understands nothing of portion control. And so whereas your guardian, when there are 5 people, cooks enough for 5 people, for us, when there is 2 people here, he cooks enough for 13. So tonight we had an eggplant parmesan, which was incredible, but it was this big. It was enough easily for 10 people, and we'll be eting that for the rest of the week. So very much blessed with abundance on Easter.
whose eggplant parmesan is better, Juan's or Frank's?
Nothing can ever top the creativity of Juan's food. Which leads me to my next question. Juan, what creative things have you come up with this year?
Let's see. To cook?
Yes.
No, nothing new. Not that I remember.
Would the brothers say differently?
Oh, wasabi?
Tomato soup.
There's been nothing wrong. Well, there was an interesting meatloaf that cooked very.
Oh yeah, that was not well done. I think the most interesting thing was the hot tomato soup.
Oh, I was going for that.
Hot tomato soup. What exactly is this?
Huh?
What is hot tomato soup? I mean, isn't all soup hot?
Well, I mean, it's spicy. That's what I mean. Sorry. Yeah.
Did it have
spicy
wasabi
hot
in it?
tomato soup. Yeah, I think that was one of
Let
the.
the viewers know something about our dear brother Juan. He likes to add spice to his food, but doesn't taste the spice as he's cooking. And we all find out at the dinner table just how spicy it is. I think it was, you were still here, Casey. I don't know if you're at the dinner table, but Juan, I should caveat, is a wonderful cook, and we're
Oh,
very
he is.
of all the meals. But one time it was a Dan Haran, Juan and I were at the dinner table, and we were having meatloaf, and the three of us were sweating profusely, drinking gallons of water, and Juan, a bit unethically, not telling us before, in the middle stops, goes, "You want to know the secret?" Oh, what's the secret? He was making us guess, and he goes, "I put wasabi in it," and we're like, "You put wasabi in it?" It was brutal.
But you know, the most important ingredient is love.
Oh.
He wants us to feel the heat of his love.
Yeah, no, that is true. There's always fun Juan special additions, like when he made apple pie and added water to it. I liked that.
I have to, he's almost perfected the apple pie.
Oh yeah, no, the first one was soup. The second one was a little bit better. By the third one, it was one of the best I'd ever eaten. So again, all those who at home thinking we're making fun of Juan, we are. But he's also a really, really good cook. We can do that because he's competent.
Juan's actually been, I've been impressed with this. He's been breaking away from the apple pie lately and trying to sort of condense it. So maybe just baking the apple with cinnamon in it and stuff like that.
Oh,
Oh.
yes.
Yeah, it's very creative, very simple, and it's a good, simple way to get, sort of those same flavors. And so his creativity oftentimes also leads to good things.
Oh yeah.
Dear Juancito, it's always a surprise.
In food, in relationships, in classes, always a surprise.
And God give me brothers.
And God gave us Juan.
And so far, no one have died from my food.
So I saw a question here worth jumping back to. So we were talking about our guardians. I think that confused a lot of people. What exactly is a guardian for a Franciscan?
He's the one who signs all of our paperwork. No,
More or less.
no. So our houses are communities. Each have a brother within our order, within our province, who's appointed to kind of be the caretaker of the house, caretaker of the community, and we call that person the guardian. And it has a myriad of different responsibilities. General maintenance of the house, overseeing those kinds of things, helping us with our finances. It depends on each house's needs. So for us, a house full of students, a lot of that has to do with making sure all of our stuff with school is taken care of. Any concerns and the expenses that we might have for vehicles or things like that, we can go through him as well.
I think it also came in everything that Tito said, and also a part of the Guardian, a lot of our writings that we have in the Franciscan tradition, and even like the particular things for each of our provinces and houses, they're also really in charge of like helping the spiritual care of the brothers and like the emotional supports. kind of think of them like, we try to avoid the language of like superior and the one.
I just saw someone write a question. So it's like a mother superior? Some of them are.
Yeah. But it's a nicer way of saying it. So we try to get away from that hierarchical language, but they're really overall like there to look after the brothers, whether it's like helping us with the finances, helping guide us in prayer, checking in with each other, bringing us together for spiritual and house chapters. We're very blessed, I think, and maybe the other two guys hopefully agree with this. I think our guardian here at Blessed, well, you lived with him too, Casey. I think
he's not listening. You can tell the truth.
Okay. Well, is this going to be recorded? Well, he's not my professor anymore, so I don't care. He still has to cook for me, so actually I do. Never mind. Yeah. He's wonderful.
No, he is wonderful. Not just a good cook, but he's a good spiritual brother. One of my favorite things about the idea of guardian, and just kind of a funny way that we're afraid of power, I think, in the Franciscan order, we like to spread it around. I was actually in your province during novitiate, I guess, Maxwell, and it was with John Pajunas, and was it also John who's the guardian of that house?
John Sella, yeah.
Yeah, John Sella. And they were talking about it and saying that John Pajunas, as the provincial, the head of the whole province, gets to decide who the guardian is of the house. And he gets to assign people and he can move them, all that. But once he's in that house, he has to obey the orders of John Sella as the guardian. So he gets to tell him when he goes on vacation, when he, what stipend he gets, all of that. And so we like to kind of spread it around so no one has absolute power, at least in theory, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is the theory.
Yeah, so no mother superiors here.
No.
So what have you guys been doing with your time? I know some of you in school, watching any good shows, reading any good books?
Yeah, Juan gives us the daily book reports. I know.
Where's my book?
Has Juan been watching Tiger King?
I have, and I am obsessed.
Of course you are.
I love it.
I don't see my book. Oh my God.
I was watching a British comedian on YouTube the other day, and he was talking about like being obsessed with Tiger King. It's amazing how the thing has like taken over the world.
It just doesn't appeal to me in any way.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I don't want to like it, and I don't want to like keep watching it, but it just draws you in.
But what I have been doing is one of the other brothers that lives here, Father Dan Haran, has been talking about Conan O'Brien's podcast. And I was a big fan of Conan for many years, and I never really got around to listening to the podcast. So I started listening to that, and I love it. It's amazing because he has a lot of comedians on there. He had Charles Barkley on there, who's former basketball player, Michelle Obama, and
who's that?
The former First Lady.
Oh yeah, her. Yeah.
Our neighbor down the road.
And so she, it's surprising. The ones you think are going to be funny sometimes are really interesting, and the ones you think are going to be interesting end up being funny. Some are both. Charles Barkley surprised the heck out of me. He was hysterical.
Oh yeah, he was probably trying to be serious though.
No, he was ragging on Conan so bad, and it was great because Conan likes to tease the people that he works with and stuff like that. So to watch it get flipped around on him was or to hear it get flipped around on him was.
Who's taller?
Charles Barkley is.
Really?
That was one of the comments. Like the others who work with Conan, Sona, his assistant, she's like, "You're tall," but when he walked in, he's just a big man. And Charles Barkley starts making fun of his dainty hands, he calls them. It's hysterical.
Juan, did you find your books?
I did. I almost finished. I'm right there.
It's just a big book. What is it? Oh, Inferno.
Look who's on the cover.
Inferno.
Yeah. Do you want to see my book, Juan? Ooh, isn't it a good book?
What's the name of the book?
I just finished Silence.
Oh,
Island, super uplifting about how missionary work is easy and everything always goes the way it's supposed to.
Right.
No one ever loses faith. No one ever gets tortured, and people don't get kicked out of countries. Never happens.
No one dies.
Nice. Yeah. Very good.
It's not your type of movie, Juan.
No, I mean, I just doing to improve my English. I have been away from the computer and reading a little bit aloud when I can. Yep.
So good. Well, I see your Oscar Romero painting behind. Is that a portrait?
Oh, yeah, thanks. And my parents.
Your
they used to
parents.
be there.
Did you paint that?
I did. I painted that. Yeah,
You're so
many years ago.
talented.
Kind of like not finished, but yeah. You what?
A lot.
And Maxwell, did you paint that painting behind you too?
I wrote the icon, many hours of painstaking work.
No, actually, it's a portrait of you, right? No? Yeah.
Yeah, yes, it's me and the child Jesus.
I like it. Very nice.
Thank you. Well, now I can't put it up.
Oh no.
Actually, this is my family corner. And you can
Family
see
corner.
the Friars are there too. Actually, it's a picture of my first.
Am I there?
Let me see. Maybe you are. See, this is my first class. My classmate.
Oh, look at baby Juan.
That's me when I came to the United States. And actually, this is me when I receive my habit.
Oh,
That's Kevin, our provincial. See, this is my Franciscan and family. Well, my family corner. And that's Romero.
Yeah, well, speaking of the habit, that was a question I saw a little while ago, something I get asked all the time. And actually, I'm legitimately curious myself. Where do you guys get your habits? Because I think people have this imagination like we go to like Walmart or the habit store and just like get another habit. But they're incredibly difficult to find. And I actually don't know of a reliable habit maker. Any advice?
so there are, I mean, one is not the happiest. So a lot of us in the novitiate, or for our first one, we get a dead friar habit. So
That's what this is.
that's what this is. And it's my favorite one.
And look what I've done with it. It has patches on it,
Full on
and it's
Francis.
ripped inside and out. It's a mess.
You went full on St. Francis on that one.
Mm-hmm.
No, so we get like whatever is hanging in the closet. And the issue with that, God love the friars, is friars come in all shapes and sizes. So they take off the capuche, the hood comes off of one, and then they put with another. So the fabrics never match. So you might get one that actually doesn't match. But normally a lot of our first one, as Tito, our first one is a habit that a friar no longer uses. We don't use the place anymore that we used to go to. There used to be,
We won't mention them by name.
I'll say, caveat that, we won't address that, cut this scene. But I know that a lot of the guys, like when they go to Italy for pilgrimage, or if they know a guy going over there, try to get it from Italy. But the guys in California, I heard, have found a group of poor Claires in California that have been making really good habits. So I'm hoping to hit up those sisters and maybe get a nice habit.
Yeah, well, I saw Sam Nasada, one of our friars, left a comment. So if he's listening, let us know. Any any habit makers out there? We'd like to know.
Yeah, I knew some friars when I lived out in Italy who were really good tailors and would do it, but I haven't seen them since I've been back. And I've had exactly one new habit since joining the Friars, and that one was made by Brother Norbert, our guardian in the novitiate. So, and I still have that, and this one. So I haven't had to get a new habit since then.
And Brother Norbert's still making habits in Cedar Lake, Indiana. Just, it's a lot because there are quite a bit of friars that are always requesting new habits. So for him to make lots of new habits, that's difficult.
He makes them out of a pretty heavy material also. And if you're in a warmer place like where you are, dear Brother Casey, it's
life of penance, offer it up.
Yeah.
It's not a habit of comfort, brother, or deacon,
I love that during novitiate, one of the brothers came to the novice master and said that he wanted to make a habit out of his basketball short material, just like spandex and whatever it would be called. It's just like that silky stuff.
Yeah.
And he just looked at him and he said, well, brother, when we convert completely to a habit of style, be my guest. But for now, it's a habit of penance. Okay.
I think it was the same brother who also came back with another material made out of bamboo.
Yes. Well, we do actually have a brother. So not to make fun of the whole idea, but we do have a brother who had one made out of Gore-Tex.
Right.
And so it on the outside, it looks kind of normal, but on the inside, it's kind of a mesh, kind of, it breathes really well. And he goes running in it. I'm not sure if it's necessarily my style, but it fits him perfectly. And so he can, even when he's running 5Ks, even when he's on his bike, he'll be in his habit. And it's a great way of evangelization. So certainly not, the hair shirt that Francis used to wear, but certainly still a symbol of evangelization.
All right.
So there you go, in case you're wondering.
The more you know.
There you go. Yeah, what else? So what's next for you guys? I mean, I think the summer is completely a question mark for all of us, but do you have supposed plans for summer assignments or ordinations?
Well, I'll go.
Yeah.
So hope, God willing, we'll see how things play out. But I've been ordained a traditional deacon. That was done in December. And in August, I should be ordained a priest to the.
Woo!
So yeah, it'll be really exciting. The date that has been set is August 8th. It's supposed to be in Tampa, Florida, which is where I was born. Hopefully the travel will be less restricted by that point. If it isn't, then I might have to just do something here in Chicago, which wouldn't be a problem. I want to do things safely and well, keep everyone healthy. And then after that, not really sure. I'll be looking at my first official assignment as a ordained, solemnly professed friar, and keep looking at a couple of places. But the one that I'm really interested for the time being is CM College, and that's I'm really hopeful about that. I've been speaking to a lot of people. They seem interested in having me. I'm really interested in being there. Of course, we take a vow of obedience, so it all depends on what our council decides. So,
Juan, do you have any summer plans?
I do, God willing.
Yeah. And the creek don't rise.
You what?
God willing, and the creek don't rise.
Yeah. I'm taking 2 classes during May, and I am planning to do my summer assignment in Indiana. Hopefully I'm going to go to Cedar Lake. You know that place?
I've been there, yes. With the most Reverend Michael Sarufka?
Yes, he's my best friend right now.
And Brother Robert, who makes
Michael.
Yeah.
Planning to go there for the summer. Hopefully I have a day for my deacon ordination, which is hopefully everything go well, God willing again.
Wait, you need to bring a date to an ordination?
Yeah, September 26th, I believe it would be.
Let's say that again, September.
Well, depend if I still alive, that would happen.
Sorry, say the date again, September what?
26th.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, I think it's a Saturday.
Okay.
And if that all works out, it wouldn't just be you, right?
Oh yeah, it would be Jay Wood and Mike Dorn. And, maybe Michael, Mark Sheckles. Yeah,
Mark Sheckles. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It would be 4.
Right, and Brother Mike Dorn is a Capuchin, so that would be really cool to have, OFMs and the Capuchins doing things together.
Inner Franciscan. Yeah, so Juan and Tito are coming to the end of their pilgrimage, so to speak. Juan was solemnly professed a million years ago, but decided to be a priest later, so he came back. Maxwell, on the other hand, do you have more or less than a decade left of school?
Done studying. I'm just perpetual student. That's my life. If you can see the tears coming down my but no, just studying, trying to do ministry here in Chicago with various ministries I work with. So I was gonna continue to do ministry as well as take online classes now they're online classes for the summer, but they were gonna be in person. So I was planning to stay in Chicago doing work. Unlike the other brothers, I don't flee the city during the summer. I stay where I am. People got in Chicago.
Get out while you can.
Love it.
Yeah, well, I have no idea where I'll be because we're leaving here and I don't have an assignment yet, so we'll find out.
Chapter.
I have a few ideas, but I'd prefer not to say them here because we're still waiting to talk with people behind the scenes. But hopefully,
but wherever you go, that's where you're going to be.
Yes, it's true.
The most profound thing I've heard all day.
Do you know? So, are you going to have to wait until the chapter? Because our chapters keep getting moved back. Are they going to tell you before the chapters so you kind of know?
Yeah, so for a little background for people at home, the way we do it is we get together for a chapter every 3 years. And a chapter is just a big gathering of all the friars. It's where we elect new counselors. It's where we often elect a new provincial. And it's after that we get new assignments. And so every 3 years you get a new contract. And you can stay in the same place for 9, 12, 15 years, but it's always in increments of 3. And so without an assignment, I have to wait till Congresses, the week after chapter. But we've pushed our chapter back now until August, September, October. We don't have a date yet. And so I'm in kind of limbo because I get kicked out of this place July 1st, June 1st, somewhere in that range. And so the idea is they're going to send me to a place temporarily and then maybe get assigned somewhere else, maybe stay where I am. It's not an ideal situation, and I'm going to be kind of pushing, and I have been pushing, hey, think ahead. What could I possibly be at? I know you're not the ones making a decision, but come on, do me a solid. Don't make me move 3 times in a year. So, but again, obedience. So I'm sure I'll be happy and useful and with God no matter where I go. So I'm not upset about it, at least not a whole lot. It is what it is. We've talked about obedience quite a bit. We obviously have the vows of being a Franciscan. I've seen a number of questions over on the side, and a number of people ask me this all the time. What brought you to the Franciscans? I mean, short of, a 10-day response here, if you could give kind of one thing, a couple sentences, what is it that attracts you to the Franciscans?
Let's go by seniority. Yes.
Juan's got it.
Very quickly, I have been a friar before, although you 3 were born, perhaps. No. Just to tell you, my habit is like 20 years old.
Anciano.
One of the 2 things that I really brought me to become a friar, I'm a Latino. I come from a big family, and I always like to be around people. You know me. Perhaps I was a dog in my previous life. And I think that one of the things is I like to be around people, and the idea of being around brother, working with people, that was one of my attraction to the friar. The second one is the life of prayer, praying together as a fraternity. I think that's another aspect, which is together with the ministry that we do as a sacramental ministry of any other stuff, different kind of ministry that we do with the community. And those are the 2 important parts for me: fraternity and prayer with the ministry where we work.
Others?
Yeah, I agree with with all of that. Especially for me, I think the 2 things that really inspired me to join the Franciscans were fraternity first and foremost, and service. And I see, if we're good brothers, if we're good in fraternity, then we should be inspired to be of service to each other, and that fraternity should spill out into a fraternity with the world, and we should be, in service to the world as well. And so I see those 2 things as related. They can't be separated. And just seeing, knowing a little bit about the life of St. Francis, I was very inspired by his littleness, his desire to be little and to be a poor servant. And by investigating and getting to know some friars, I was really inspired by them and their sense of fraternity and humility in relating to others. And that's really what drew me in. The idea of fraternity and then seeing it lived out in some great friars.
This is an important question, but I always dislike this question because.
Do you not have a vocation, Maxwell? You're just a freeloader here.
But kind of what the other brothers said, what really attracted me to the friars is like the fraternity and the work that we do, but mainly in fraternity. A big thing for friars is fraternity really is at the core of everything we do and should be at the core of everything we do. But I don't think that really spoke to me until I did a lot of my come and sees and visits. So I didn't just look at the Franciscans. Actually, I was looking at least 3 other orders real seriously before meeting the friars. So I had a real active discernment even before I knew a lot about Franciscan way of life. But it was being with the friars and the come and see and just going to the different friaries and being with the guys, I felt the most at home, the most comfortable. And that's why I struggle with this question, because it's something that's hard to actually verbalize, that feeling that I experienced with the brothers. Not to say the other orders were bad, they just were not for me. They're but it was when I came with the friars and when I was with them in prayer, and when I was with them just like hanging out at the dinner table, seeing the ministries that they were doing, that's where I felt the Spirit really pulling me and like really felt on fire, like, no, this is where I'm called to be. So I don't know like what drew me to that, but once I experienced it, I'm like, that's what I want.
Yeah, we can't often articulate it super well. And I think thinking about it 10 years later, it becomes sometimes a little more clear than it was then. I don't think I would say what I'm about to say way back then, but I think it's true. I've always been the type of person, when I find something, I want to share it. I'm just excited and I just have to let everyone know. And this goes for important things and this goes for stranger things. You know, if I find a television show that I absolutely love, the brothers know this, I will ask people no less than 1 million times, have you seen Stranger Things? Have you ever seen 30 Rock? You ever watched The West Wing? And then proceed to tell them everything they don't really care to know. Just because when I find something, I want other people to find what I've found. And so I think when I found Christ in my life, when I found kind of a conversion moment of, I want to take this more seriously and be a disciple, I was looking for a way that I could share that experience with others. And I found the Franciscans just absolutely full of joy and doing it in fraternity. And then kind of having that evangelical spirit, even as simple as, just having the habit. It's such an important symbol that it helps facilitate conversations and be kind of other in the world and sort of not against the world, but kind of a countercultural to the world. And all of that together was attracted to me, even though I couldn't articulate it. And now I'm here still.
We're here.
9 years later.
Nice.
Yeah, well, I'm wondering, what sort of questions do you have? Anything you want to ask the brothers, call them out on, facilitate a conversation? We got a few more minutes left here. What do you think's interesting about this life for your brothers?
Or what?
I'm sorry, I wasn't following. Were you asking the viewers the questions, or was that directed towards us?
I'm asking you.
I texted Tito because as he was talking, I noticed that there was like a stain on the wall, so I was like, move over to cover the stain.
It is.
Not always a glamorous place we live.
I would like to add something more. I think that we began the conversation joking about my cooking and how sometimes it's how I put secret stuff, and at the end I hope I can get them better. I think that that's our life in general. And as a Franciscan, we hope that when you cook like Tito know better than perhaps. I think Tito's a great chef. For those who cook, you have to kind of like improve your cooking, kind of like get better. But for our life, it's organic. I think that our goal is to become a better person. I mean, and the question that we had to ask all the time, I including myself, had to ask myself all the time, like, how can I become a better Franciscan? How can I be a better brother for this particular brother? Especially when we move from community to community, from fraternity to fraternity. And the answer all the time is simple, it's like, keep the rule and love your brother as yourself, and try to kind of like see what is the best for your brother, and try to work it out and get to know your brothers good enough. I think that would build a good fraternity. But the most important part is, like, to be honest, and to be also joyful, even in those hard moments. I think that that's something that as a Franciscan really keep alive. That even in the worst moment of our life, we always have a joke or something that to laugh about, and that's the good part that I see.
Yeah, so I'm curious. One, is fraternity easy? Do you love every brother you live with? Do you like every brother? Are you always joyful?
Oh yes, I love my.
Remember that this is live.
I always say that I love my brother the same way that I love food.
I don't want you to finish that thought.
I always had to try it. It's not always easy. Sometimes are very spicy food.
And some brothers are a bit picky and may not be the easiest to get along with. Some are undercooked, some are overcooked. I think we've gone too far.
No, let's keep going with this food metaphor. See,
salty.
But in terms of how to live in fraternity and cooking, you can always kind of try new things, and you can experiment a little bit, try substituting different ingredients, and things don't always work, right? And you kind of have to trust your instincts, but over time, you also want your instinct to be formed and to be informed. And so, whenever you're in a fraternity and maybe there's a way that you related to the community, but to a previous community, that doesn't quite work in this community. So how, can you make adjustments and things like that? One of the things that I think is a challenge for us, because we are so itinerant, because we move around so much, is the moment one person changes in the community. So like, let's say you have a house with 3 brothers and a 4th person moves in. You can't just do business as usual and expect that 4th person to just do what everyone else is doing. They have, their own way of doing things. They're going to have their own schedule. And so it's important for the brothers to sit down and say, okay, how's this going to work? How are we going to do this? What adjustments do we need to make? And that can be a challenge, because being, human, we tend to fall into patterns, and we like to just, kind of keep going with our normal routines. Routine is very comfortable for us, but I think that our itinerancy and the constant moving around helps us with our poverty and charity, because it forces us to look at our life and say, okay, what adjustments do I need to make?
You know what I always like to say? If people would just listen to everything I said, fraternity would be a whole lot easier. I think Maxwell would agree.
There you go.
My camera stopped working. I didn't hear that case.
Oh, don't worry. We can still see your beautiful face.
Oh, that's all that matters. I just need talking to me now for the past hour.
Yeah. So Maxwell, you have a different province, so maybe a slightly different experience of brothers, but I think it's still kind of a universal experience. What's it like living with brothers that are difficult to get along with?
None of them are on this phone.
Oh, of course not. Of course not.
I think I've also been very blessed and fortunate in my formation as a friar, that I experienced many different countries and cultures. I think this summer would have been the first time I stayed the whole summer in the United States, and I wasn't around the world with different provinces. So really experiencing sometimes that challenge of fraternity. I mean, in one sense, it is a universal thing. Living with guys who aren't part of your province, But even what I've always amazed by with the Friars is our charism really does bond us together. And even when you don't speak the same language, I mean, there have been several times where I've ended up in a few situations where I do not speak their language and they do not speak my language. But we are brothers. And even if it's a brother that we don't speak each other's language and we might not get along, he might be irritating just for various reasons. But the fact that we're brothers, we're still there supporting and loving each other. And so it's a blessing and a curse fraternity, because sometimes you are stuck with people that, well, as Francis said, and the Lord gave me brothers, but didn't tell me what to do with them. We don't pick who we live with. Sometimes you have to live with guys that are difficult to live with. But the big thing is
but we're never difficult, right? It's always other people.
Oh no, I'm an angel. I am privileged. But that's things like having those conversations and having that vulnerability to allow the brothers to be like, okay, you're really getting on my nerves. Let's talk about this. As we learn in our formation, use I language. I am feeling. But I do think fraternity is a big gift, even in the most difficult of times. It's always been a gift that's taught me a lot about myself and ultimately God revealing more of God's self to us.
Yeah, I was kind of laughing when you were talking about kind of going internationally and having kind of this universal experience. It brought me right back to our Solemn Vow retreat that you and I were on, where I think both of us experienced this on two levels. There's a theological level and a practical level. What I really liked was, we were at the conventuals, the Capuchins, and kind of inner Franciscan. And the one evening prayer, we prayed the office, but all the readings were replaced with sections from our own constitutions. And you can kind of see oh, wow, everything for OFMs is about mission. You're in brotherhood, so you can go out to mission, and you're poor, so you can be better missionaries. It's always about going out. And the Capuchins were much more about kind of that prayer and intimate relationship with Jesus. And then the conventual is much more about fraternity. And you could see it very much on this level. And then we would go out into the streets and we'd see how we related to each other. And I can't get over the fact that, the Capuchins would see each other from across the city and run and hug each other. And the conventuals run and hug each other. And the OFMs would be like, hey, let me just keep walking. No warmth, no intimacy. I don't think that's necessarily a normal thing for us, but we tend to be kind of more independent sometimes. And it was just so funny. It happened over and over again. Yeah, I see you. That's it. Goodbye.
Yeah, I have to say it was the same on my pilgrimage as well. I went, a few years after you guys. We went to the Capuchin Curia, General Curia in Rome. And as soon as we walked in, those guys were like, it's so great to have you guys here. Coffee and snacks and cookies. And they're like, sit here. And they're, and then we walked into our General Curia and the guys were like, hello. It was one guy welcoming us. And I just so happened to see a friar that I recognized and knew, and he knew me. And so the two of us were really happy and talking to each other, but everyone else was like, where do we go? What do we do now? So yeah, it is, we are, that's something we could, I think, work on a little bit. But,
yeah, we certainly have the ones of the world, but unfortunately not everyone is like one.
Yes.
No, everyone is like one, yes.
You're the one and only.
A little harder on Juan's head.
As an introvert, I'm okay with that sometimes. We don't need to do this. I see you. As long as we see each other.
Yeah, and that for me was a difficult part of discernment, because I saw a lot of the priests I knew who were very gregarious and very joyful and just super extroverted. And I thought, I ain't like that. I like my private time, and I'm not sure if I can play that role. And so it was very helpful for me to see the larger group of friars, to see, that was one experience we had in Italy, but that's not the experience everywhere.
Right.
It's not even an experience even in our own provinces. There's lots of different guys. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that four friars can get together in a conversation like this without making fun of the Jesuits at least a little bit. So what I'll say is, once you've met one Jesuit, you've met the Jesuits. But once you've met one Franciscan, you've met one Franciscan. Right. We all have our kind of different quirks. And I'm not saying that is necessarily a good thing. we're all different, and that comes with a lot of fun to it.
Mhm.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that I've learned, over the years since joining the Friars is, I have a strong personality. I'm
You're just a
opinionated.
strong guy, brother.
Yeah, and strong in every way. I'm an opinionated guy, and so I tend to state my opinions like they're facts sometimes. I try to be careful of not doing that. But, there were times where I definitely rubbed someone the wrong way, might have hurt their feelings or offended them, and they called me out on it. And that's never my intention. I don't ever set out, to state something in a way that hurts someone. So the minute they call me out on it, I apologize, and that's because not hurting someone, because creating an atmosphere where people are welcome and feel comfortable sharing the same way I feel comfortable sharing is important to me. And so that's something that I work on. And it's why I make the decision to apologize immediately, and say, I'm really sorry. And I try not to get defensive. I say, because I recognize that weakness in myself. And I think it's really important for us to foster, environments that are welcoming and that are open so that people can share.
I think also some of these personality traits that we're talking about, when I worked in high school, a lot of students always ask me, like, be a Franciscan or a priest. Mainly talking about male religious congregations. Like, do you have to be a good public speaker? Do you have to be like really extroverted, outgoing? I was like, no, that's not a requirement. Because a lot of times they see almost a public persona that when we're preaching or when we're out on the street, we do sometimes have to be a bit more gregarious than we normally are. It's not saying that that's not our true self, but when you're out in public, sometimes you have to be a bit more loud and outgoing. I don't know how to turn that off. Sorry about that.
Loud and outgoing. Good cue.
Yeah, thank you. But if like anyone's watching that's like in discernment and feels that they're quieter or more shy, like just because you're not a huge extrovert, just because you don't like speaking in front of people doesn't mean that you don't have a call or you're not made out for religious life. There's so many opportunities and things you can do within religious life, and more specifically within the Franciscan charism, that doesn't have to do with like being a huge public persona. So if anyone's listening, I don't know who is one.
Is anyone out there?
I'm talking to one, essentially.
I actually turned off the live 2 hours ago. You have no idea. We're just talking. Just kidding. Don't swear.
For me, I do not like public speaking. I'm a relatively coy and shy person. The brothers might not believe that. But there is room in the order. There's a place in the order for individuals who just simply want to serve God and be with God's people and live in fraternity.
Yeah, I think one of the beauties of our order, or maybe the purest beauty, is that we are not called to a particular task. We don't have one thing that we do. The first line of our order is that the Order of Friars Minor is to live the gospel. And I think there are millions of ways that you can do that. And that's all Francis really cared about, was just to be a good disciple of Christ. And so he said, we didn't even have to do ministry. The word ministry doesn't appear in our rule. He said we needed to do work. Exactly. And so that could be labor. It could be something completely not religious in any way, but it can be serving other people and serving the common good. It can be a public speaker as a priest, but it could also be a doctor or a nurse. You could work in landscaping. There's really nothing that can't be fit into being a Franciscan as long as it's Christian in nature. And I think that's kind of really wonderful about it. So everyone has a place here with us. That said, we've been talking for about an hour, and I think that's wonderful. I want to thank my brothers here for hanging in there for an hour. Really wonderful that no one has tremendously embarrassed themselves or said anything egregious. But I want to kind of end with one more question, and that's just a simple one. All the people listening at home, maybe stuck at home, stay-at-home orders, maybe feeling a little isolated, maybe thinking and praying a little bit more than they used to. Do you have any advice for them? Maybe one little tidbit that they can take to prayer, one little thing for discernment, anything you want. What do you want to leave us with? Start with Juan.
My advice is to have a routine, and if pray is something that really help you to concentrate, just prayed. But one of the things that I do is I listen to my favorite music, and I have like a Zumba thing, and I do my Zumba once every other day. Listen Christian pop music and like getting all the help that I can get.
Can you demonstrate for us?
No. And the next video.
The next video. I'll hold you to that. Maxwell will be in the same room with you. You can lead.
There will not be a next video.
I'll do it with you, Juan. You lead, I'll follow. Okay, some Zumba.
Tito, quick, change the subject. What advice are you giving?
Okay, so I know that for a lot of people, there's been a shift, and they've in some cases become more busy because they're trying to work from home, those kinds of things. Some people have more time on their hands, and idleness can kind of be a struggle. So I would recommend staying connected with people like we are here, chatting, but also think about picking up another skill, reading a book or something, learning in some way. So, you can take this as an opportunity to develop something new, to learn something new, and to better yourself.
Yeah, one thing that comes to mind for me right away is it's okay to feel the emotions that you're feeling. I think a lot of people had travel canceled. I'm thinking of a lot of our seniors from both high school and colleges, like who are not able to walk, who are not able to see their friends maybe anymore. It's a lot of this, even for those who just aren't able to go to work or little inconveniences, it's okay to feel disappointed, upset. The trick is not wallowing in it. But I think when I've been talking to a lot of people, just hearing a lot of people trying to brush it off like, oh, but it's okay, it's not a big deal. It's like, no, it's okay to be upset. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad, but it's how are we going to use that emotion in a constructive way moving forward. So I would say allow yourself to feel that emotion, but then at the same time, as Franciscan, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, look, bring it to God, bring it to your relationship with God. We just talked today, and one of my favorite saints, I have a great devotion to her, is Saint Clare. And today as a community, we read her second letter to Agnes, where it talks about gaze upon Christ, consider Christ, contemplate Christ, and really sitting with Christ in this time. I mean, God knows all the emotions you're going through. You can't hide anything from God right now. So being transparent and going before the Lord in your house and just being in quiet with God and being your true self instead of trying to like mask what we're feeling right now.
Yeah, and I would just add one more thing, which is as much as you can set that schedule, as much as you can take on a new task and kind of let yourself grow and take those emotions that Max was talking about, being honest with yourself. I think we always want to continue to look outward. It's very easy to become not only physically isolated, but emotionally and socially, ecclesially isolated, that we think that we're the church, we're all that matters. In our world today, there are people struggling more than they probably ever have. There are a lot of people who are hungry, a lot of people who are financially unstable. And while we can't do ministry in the way we used to, we can't just go to a soup kitchen and feed people. That doesn't mean that we can't stay connected. We can obviously pray for them, keep the intentions of the world. Think about all the people who are being laid off, all those who have had their benefits cut, bring them to prayer. But then also think about all the ways that you can help. You can donate money. You can donate supplies to places that are still accepting them. You can still advocate with your congresspeople and with the president and with your leaders all around the world to make sure that the poor and marginalized are kept in mind, because the rich are going to be fine. They'll take care of themselves. But if we're not careful and we only think of ourselves, then those who can't defend themselves are going to be left behind. And that would be a real tragedy of today. And I'm really happy to say here at our church, we've been overwhelmed with the generosity of people, that they've been just dropping checks off left and right and bringing food and really just concerned about some of our weaker and sicker and poorer parishioners. And I think that's really what we can do still. So all of it is great advice. We hope that you're all doing well at home, that something about this conversation was helpful to you. We thank you for sticking in. Those who stuck in the whole time, you're gonna watch it later. And if you have any recommendations, we may do this again. And by we, I mean me, because Maxwell is done. He is checked out, never again. But maybe I'll find some new friars. Leave some questions, leave some suggestions. We'd love to maybe try this again. But yeah, why don't we just end with a prayer, I guess? It seems like an appropriate Franciscan thing to do. We pray in the Father, and the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Good and gracious God, you are the giver of all that is good, the creator of everything that is. We pray in this time when it seems like the world is falling apart, that we may see that you are the one building it back up again, that you are in the gaps and the crevices, in all the distortions, all the breaks. You're there mending it and building it, repairing it. And Lord, you are with the poor and the marginalized. You are with those who are isolated. And so we pray that we may be with them as well, if for no other reason than in spirit, that we may always keep them in mind, because that's where you are present. And Lord, we ask that you be with us as we continue to bear our own struggles, our own sins, to overcome the things that we didn't want to see in isolation. Be our strength and be our inspiration. And we ask all this through Christ our Lord. Amen. And may Almighty God bless you, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. And go in peace. Thanks be to God.
Amen.
Thank you all for listening. Have a great night.
Happy Easter.
Easter.